All right, it's my turn to speak on my thoughts for season two. I kind of wanted to take a few days to really gather my thoughts and opinions on things before I voice them. Some of these thoughts are going to be some good, there's going to be some bad, there's a little bit of ugly in here, and probably a little bit uglier. What is up, everybody? I am Swanky Games, and today I just wanted to talk about Season 2 and my overall thoughts and opinions. Everyone more or less has voiced their opinions about this patch, and most of it, if not all, is on the negative side of things. So I do feel like it is my job to try to be the voice of reason. Now, when I say that, this is not me defending the devs in any way, shape, or form. I just want to point that out. Also, I do not like the direction this patch went into. We'll get into those thoughts here in a few moments. But if that's all you guys cared about, you guys just wanted to hear my very blunt overall thoughts, that was it. So if you guys enjoyed the video and you guys agree with my thoughts, consider liking and subscribing. The more that you guys do, the more that you guys help me out. If you guys do decide that you disagree with my thoughts and opinions, feel free to throw in a thumbs down. The more that you guys help me out, the more I'll try to help you guys out, and the more of you I'll be able to help out, and I'll catch you guys in that next stream or video. Take care of yourselves, happy gaming, and peace. But for those of you who want to hear my overall thoughts and opinions in detail, we're going to get into that here in a few moments. However, I do have a Discord as well. If you guys would like to come over there and hang out with me, get in some GGs, some coachings, anything of that nature, please consider heading on over there. I will be putting the link in the description below so that you guys can come hang out with me and other players alike. But with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. So there's going to be a few things that need to be pointed out as well. And as much as I hate saying it, some of these issues are also going to be falling on the players and community as well. Myself included. I'm not innocent in this. And I know that might sound harsh and a lot of people aren't going to like that I said that. Unfortunately, it just doesn't make it any less true. But first, let's talk about the things that I do not agree with when it comes to this patch. First of all, the devs on multiple fronts promoted defensive gameplay. Okay? And like it or not, we did get defensive play. I'll get more into details in a bit, but for example, stepping is a little bit easier and more consistent. Like it or not, they did deliver on that promise. Technically, they gave most of the cast tools to stop stepping. Other moves got ghost buffs, like moves for some reason characters track more now. So if in season 1 the scales were, say, defense was at about a 4 and offense was at about a 9, which, you know, give or take a couple points might be fairly accurate in my opinion. Season 2 defense moved up to maybe a 7, which in my opinion might be stretching it a little bit, and offense went to like a solid 15. But then you have characters like Clive, King, Jack, Paul, amongst other characters, just to name a few, that if played even only decently, have very little counterplay. And it kind of nullifies the entire ability to step at all. Also, with some characters, I am happy to see got a little bit of love. They got a little bit of extra damage for the combos, more stance transitions for some characters that didn't really have easy ways to access their stances outside of just straight mind games. But then there are others where because of it, some characters' combo damage went from maybe 70, 80 on average to 90, 100 plus, with maybe a little execution, no heat, no rage, just a little bit of execution. Characters getting counter hit, launching lows that are only minus 12, maybe minus 13 on block. It's like, great, I guess, you know, if I'm the player defending against that, it's like, great, I guess correctly, but I just get this little whatever punish. In my opinion, the more utility a low has should have determined how punishable it is. But the overall point is, I do agree changes need to be made, and the changes we got weren't what we were told we were getting. So keep in mind too that even during the talks, the devs said the majority of complaints came from legacy fans, but they've learned to adapt. And the majority of casual Tekken players are loving Tekken, is basic more or less what they said. So if you're coming from a production point of view, you're probably going to want to listen to the majority. So when we are going on social media and pointing out that this character needs this and this character needs that, this character's can't sidestep for crap, so on and so on. The devs are usually going to try to cater to the situations that the best they can so that you, the majority casual audience, will be more satisfied with your character and give them your money. And the patch notes were over 1,500 individual changes. That's already a lot and will put any person's brain into information overload. And these patch notes were not made in a day or two. For this many changes, this stuff was in the works for months. And this character was placed with balancing this character and this character and this character, while this worker was tasked with this character. So once everything was all said and done and it turned into what we now see in Season 2, and I do believe that the devs paid attention because they did say they were reverting some of these changes in a May patch before Season 2 dropped. Even some of these were already in the works. Personally, I think that's too long, and if they really want this game to last, they're going to need to put out an emergency patch more or less as soon as possible, or this game will die to the point that the only players playing it will be people who work at playing Tekken, such as the main man Sui and sweat lords that enjoy their I win buttons. And unless they actively want Tekken 8 to die, they're not going to want to wait that long. I am aware that there's an emergency patch that's supposed to come out mid to late April. And even I think that's still too long. They need to fix this stuff like in a couple days. And the longer they wait, the more that their game is going to get bad reviews. People are not going to be happy. People are going to leave. And if they wait too long, some of those players that leave, they're not going to come back. You know, and then I do also want to point out, I kind of wanted to reiterate about Clive Rossfield, our guest character that we have right now. He was already slotted for Tekken 8. I want to say it was like 8 or 9 months before we were even introduced that this game was in production. So we got this game in about January of 2024. We got told about this game, I don't even think a full year before that. So Clive was already slotted and more or less made for this game in 2023, maybe 2022. So they had to fix and balance and change him over the course of the 2 years that they were waiting to release him. And Nakatsu, Harada, and Murray, for the most part, outside of overseeing Tekken, their real only jobs is to make you want to buy their stuff. They're the faces of Tekken. And with that, I do want to kind of more or less point out, a lot of you guys are attacking these guys on a personal level. If you guys are upset with the game and you guys want to yell at them about the game, that I have absolutely no problem with. Keep doing it. I'll get more into details on stuff like that in a bit. But they're more or less the faces of Tekken 8. That's it. There's probably a few other things. They are meant to oversee Tekken 8, and again, I'll get more into that in a bit. One dev saw that this casual player wanted to see this change, and this change. This dev saw this player wanted this change and this change. And every single one of those changes probably got like installed into the next patch, like one or two little changes at a time, and it ended up turning into what we're seeing now. Except for Lee. Lee got crapped on. We're not going to get too much into details, but Lee straight up got crapped on. Lee is now a Tekken 7 character and a Tekken 9 game, essentially, right now. Or I would say it would be more accurate to say Lee is a Tekken 7 character trying to fight in a Tekken Ball Fighters game, which is what it is right now. That's just my opinion. But definitely keep complaining, tweeting, review bombing the current patch. Don't spend any more money and don't play the game. The devs are not going to want to wait that long to make these changes. Because as I might have mentioned already, the longer they take to fix these problems, the more people are going to leave and not come back. And even when they do finally fix these problems, we're still always going to be cautious about future patches, future changes, because of this patch. So when they do finally fix these problems, and if the majority of the player base comes back or stays, in the future, most of the people are not going to buy their changes or the next season pass or the next character on day one. Why would I? I'm probably about to get a character that's way overtuned or something of that nature. Or if there's a bunch of changes to the other characters, I'm going to want to see what those changes are before I spend my time with it. And that's the devs' fault. Regardless of their intentions, regardless of how quickly they make these changes, and if the changes are what they need to be, that's still not going to change. It's going to be years before we can maybe consider them okay again. And that still depends on how long it takes them to change it. There was a change, I want to say, it was in the middle of Tekken 7. I want to say it was Launch Leroy. I want to say I think he was season 3, if I'm not mistaken. He was overtuned for I want to say it was like a month or two. It was way too long. And then Launch Fakhum Ram came, and he was a mess. He was top tier as well. Every button was a broken button. So, and a lot of the quote-unquote legacy players that played that, even to this day, are still very cautious of everything the devs do because they're afraid that the next DLC character is going to be another Launch Leroy or another Launch Fakhum Ram. And then, lo and behold, Season 2 of Tekken 8, every character is a Launch Leroy or a Launch Fakhum Ram. Every one. But as much as you guys might enjoy this game, I love this game. And I know it sucks. But if you really want to teach these devs a lesson, you're just going to have to stop spending your money and stop playing the game. And overall, the problem's not going to get better with you guys just complaining. You guys also need to act on it. To act upon trying to get them to change, you got to stop playing their game. It's kind of a catch-22, but you guys right now, a lot of you guys are essentially telling them, you guys messed up my game. You guys are probably going to take forever to fix it, but you guys can have my money anyways. Don't do that. Don't do that. But at the same time, you guys have to understand that you guys know the saying, be careful what you wish for. So you guys have to remember how many of you guys were crapping on Season 1. talking about the things that you didn't like, things that needed to be changed, how it was getting stale, how there wasn't enough options for this character, and this character, and this character. And now that everyone more or less got what they asked for, except for League players, it's too much. And Lee's not a main character of mine. He's just a character I really, really love. I love playing against Lee's, seeing the way they play him, the way they get around other stuff, because he's a keep out counter hitting character. So his job is literally to learn your pattern so that he can capitalize on those situations. So they made his job even harder now, gutting one of his absolute best moves, and probably the only reason to even activate heat in the first place with the character is his wall standing 2-3. I'm not going to get into details on all of them, but that is a big one. So wall standing 2-3, most of you guys have already seen it. It's when he's crouched, he stands up, he throws it in the air, and he has to activate heat to turn it into a combo. And that was why you activated heat. That move is now, not only is that move minus 14 now, so if you guess wrong, you get to get launched by some of the characters in the cast. But even if you guess right, you might be lucky to get 60 damage combo. And that's just one nerf. That's arguably, in my opinion, the worst nerf. But I'm also not a Lee main. There might be other nerfs that another Lee disliked even more than that. But it's like when they were telling these workers to work on these characters, somebody told this guy to make Lee more of a defensive aspect. And then they told everybody else to work on the aggressive aspect of the rest of the cast, is essentially what happened. So, sorry about the little tangent. I just wanted to talk about Lee for a second. I'm just so mad about what they did with him. But as I was saying before, we got what we asked for, and now it's too much. This guy got what he wanted for Leo. This woman got what she wanted for Alyssa. Hwoarang has less weaknesses, and so on and so on. And now that we all got what we asked for, we're not happy. You guys can't blame the devs for all the changes alone. Yes, they should have had people overseeing the project to determine things were too much. And there's no doubt that they had the money for it. But in the same breath, you guys got what you were asking for. So while you're complaining about Paul's buffs, you're complaining about Jack's buffs, and so on, remember that a lot of these buffs are there because another person that is currently complaining on the same forum as you, complaining about Reina or Asuka buffs, asked for those buffs. Maybe not the specific buffs, but there were a lot of complaints about lack of being able to access stances or stances not having enough mix-ups. We complained about all that stuff. And the devs did say that the later patch would rescind like the throw breaking chip damage, amongst other things. So they are aware of how overtuned things are, and were probably aware of it before it was released, hence the Clive thing I was talking about before. But they still had to advertise and sell, and then hopefully fix the issues later. Now, that's me giving them the benefit of the doubt. I still don't think that they should have released this product if they weren't satisfied. I do want to make sure I point that out. So, again, I am not defending the devs. I'm simply trying to be the voice of reason here and give them a little bit of benefit of the doubt. It was still their job to put out a satisfactory product. And not only did they not deliver on what they promised, they literally went the exact opposite of what they promised. So now, even content creators, even content creators like the main man Sui had mentioned before, and he stated numerous times, this is before season 2, this is like early season 1, he was mentioning this stuff. And I'm only mentioning the main man Sui because he was the content creator I mentioned earlier. I just want to keep it simple and easy to follow. But he stated multiple times that Kazuya did not need buffs. Because actually he was more going in the direction of nerfs. He thought Kazuya needed a couple nerfs, but he especially didn't want Kazuya to get any buffs because any of those buffs would probably begin to hurt Kazuya's identity as a character. And he stated this over and over and over again. And the devs have checked in on his streams from time to time, so they most likely heard him, but they didn't listen to him. And now you don't dare step Kazuya to his weak side, because now he'll hit you with his -7 on block mid homing move that's even more powerful in heat. Maybe make it a high, or make it like its crouched version. Like the crouched version is faster and it is technically safe. I want to say at -9. But there's a little bit of execution involved. So while he's standing, it's a little bit slower. Maybe you could speed that up, but make it a high or make it punishable on block, something of that nature. But his crouch version tracks to his weak side. That's the 50-50 aspect. If you're going to try to sidestep me, you're either going to try to sidestep my hell sweep, or you're going to try to sidestep my mid. But the thing is, most people can't do the mid out of a crouch dash. So what do they do instead? They give Kazuya the up forward 1. I believe that's the input. So maybe make it more punishable on block or something of that nature. Make it a high. I don't know. But there are some changes in moves that are very welcome and not too overtuned. For example, Kazuya's sidestep 4-2 is a very nice mid-mid that is really good for extending his already strong combos, but requires more execution, and is otherwise a risky mid-mid check that is -13 in the neutral. In my opinion, that's a fantastic trade-off. Or Hwoarang's elbows. Yeah, as much as I would want them to stay, the full launch on trade has to go. But otherwise, they are fantastic highs. They track very well to his weak side, and they're only -4 on block, so it can't be looped or abused too much. Great moves overall. His homing low is probably a little bit too much. They should probably make it so that whether or not it gets blocked or it hits, he goes into Flamingo. Since he can't block in his stance, they can make it -10, -12, or something of that nature, so that more or less anybody can just launch him out of Flamingo. Because I believe a Power Crush takes 6, 7, 8 frames to come out. I'm not really sure. Let's say 6 just in case. If it's -10, 6 frames, you get 16 frames to launch the guy. That should be plenty of time before he can even activate his Power Crush and try to defend. I think that'd be a fair trade-off, but overall, it's still a move he just didn't need. It kind of kills his identity either way. But other than that, I'm not going to get into too much into specifics, or we'll end up being here all day. Those are just a few examples of moves from characters that were both good and bad in my opinion. Like I said before, I just wanted to kind of be the voice of reason, give the devs a little bit of benefit of the doubt. This is, again, that's not me defending them. That's not me saying that what happened is okay. They should have been more responsible. Like, when I say benefit of the doubt, I just mean, like, they could not have overseen everything. They just couldn't. It falls on the entire team. It's easy to attack these 3 guys here because they are the faces of Tekken, but it's not just them. So, as of now, some of this video was recorded a little over a week ago, and then some of this is being recorded closer to about the 13th of April. I think that's today. So we're a couple days away from an emergency patch right now. I do have to give some credit to the devs where it is due. Tekken is one of the only games where the devs regularly give us little bits of information about the game. They talk to us, answer a few questions, however vaguely. They do try to communicate to the best, as best as a game developer can, I think. And like I said, a lot of devs for other games aren't usually that vocal with their audience. Usually, even with games like Street Fighter 6 or Mortal Kombat, usually that audience gets like a teaser trailer here and there, their character trailers. And once every blue moon, I think last time was like the yearly annual situation, they might get their patch notes for SF6. I don't know about other games. Other devs don't even do that much. Obviously, the devs didn't really listen to the audience very well, because here we are currently in Season 2. But there is a little bit of a line drawn, and we do have news of a patch and how they plan to fix things going forward. A lot of people aren't happy with the very few changes that we are getting, but you guys have to remember that this was 1,500 changes. This stuff didn't happen in a few days, and they're going to need to take some time to work on fixing things while also attempting to balance things out as well. And I'm not saying to give them the benefit of your doubt, but there is a small ray of light here. I still don't think there was any good enough excuse to release Season 2 in its current state. And after almost 2 weeks, as hard as it is, I've been personally taking advantage of all the experience and situations that I can get from this patch. And I'm losing a lot, and I'm losing the things that I don't think I should even be losing to. But once things start to get rebalanced and a little easier, a little bit more streamlined, cross fingers, toes, shoes, tongue, cherry stem, and everything else in between, it should end up being easier to handle. So the ones currently playing are potentially going to have a leg up. That's not to exclude the fact that they're probably using like the cheap stuff that they can use from their characters. And once those are potentially rebalanced, it could spell a different story. But it's really going to come down to the ones that are taking advantage of the situation and trying to play in a more fair manner, if that makes sense, instead of trying to like cheese the whole way through. So there's a lot of issues to unpack here, but we can really only hope and wait for the time being. And just like with everything else, it might take some time. And if you're not happy with it, don't play it until you're happy with it. Don't, there's other games, like I mentioned, there's Street Fighter 6, there's Mortal Kombat. If you are really into fighting games, and I know it's like I'm a very passionate Tekken fan personally. So I get it. I don't want to stop playing Tekken myself. But in situations like this, it's really the only language the devs speak at this point. All right, guys? But now I do want to hear your guys' thoughts. I want to hear your guys' opinions in the comments below. What do you guys want to see fixed? But be careful, we already got what we wished for overall, and look where that got us. Jokes aside, what do you guys think could be fixed? Or how do you feel they could balance out your character, not somebody else's character, your character, so that you could keep some of the moves and buffs and trade them out for something else that might be a little overtuned? Let me hear your thoughts down in the comments below. But with all that out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and stop talking and get out of here. I hope this didn't upset too many of you guys, and I hope we can work together to help fix this once beautiful game. That's going to be it for me, guys. I apologize for the long tangents. I apologize for kind of going off topic a couple times. But I kind of just wanted to get a bunch of stuff off my chest, try to be a little bit reasonable, and give my overall thoughts and opinions. But let's make Tekken 8 great again. I'm Swinky Games again. Take care of yourselves. Happy gaming and peace.